Good afternoon to our guests who stayed for this last part of today's event. We have already heard some great presentations and discussions, and now we would like to add some good practice examples to this with our panelists. You have already introduced yourselves and your business ideas, but now let's explore your early experiences with your companies. Maybe let's start with you, Timur. So, what was the most surprising part of starting your business, or something that was really different from what you expected?
Hello, my name is Timur. I'm the CEO of Rendi. That's a very good question. What was surprising? Maybe what I learned that would be more interesting in this matter. The most important lesson for me during these 2 years since I'm the CEO of Rendi is that the team members, the employees of the company are the ones who really matter, and they are the ones who take you to the next level and make the company become successful. And before that I thought that basically when you're an entrepreneur, you only count on yourself and you have to do everything yourself. But it turns out that actually the biggest power is in a group. And I'd say that from these 2 years, I have really learned that lesson for me.
How do you see this, Eva? Maybe go one by one and tell your early experiences.
Well, actually, I'm here. I'm here to learn how to do it because I do not have a company yet. My idea is under elaboration or evaluation, but definitely I will profit from listening to my colleagues. So I no experience yet.
Hello, my name is Tomáš Pokorný, as you know, and it's not my first business actually. I had a project when we were developing an application to do shift scheduling. So my first project failed, so that was like, I think it was the best experience I can ever had. Because when you fail, you know that just everything doesn't seem to be so easy as you thought before, and you may find a lot of difficulties in your way that you're learning. And I think that I never thought that I would be so busy because I'm studying university still, so it's kind of hard for me to divide my time between the university, my actual work, because I started the business a year ago, and we have clean numbers, we have the profit, but I'm still not taking any money from that business. So it's kind of hard to divide your time between the things that you have to do. But I think the most important thing is to enjoy what you are doing and learn on the way.
Hello, I am Peter from Feedbacker, and the most surprising moment in our company was, I think, the length of the sales cycle in the big companies, because 1 year ago we were selling it to the restaurants and small businesses, and it was pretty easy. The decision was made to the 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, and now we have some enterprises which the minimum length is the 1 month, and some we are discussing 3 months now. So the answer is the sales. The sales was surprising for me in the big companies.
We have heard a number of difficulties, the time effort, the length of the sales cycle. And today we are at a regional conference, which surely is a great platform for disseminating good practices and information. Were there any other initiatives or organizations that help you? Maybe now start with you, Peter.
In my country, we are not in connection with some initiative or organization, but the most interesting for me for the inspiration is the American accelerator Y Combinator. They have startup lessons online for the whole world, and I think this is the biggest value. So not some state initiative, but these American examples of companies.
For me, it's definitely our business incubator point one, because thanks to this incubator, I was able to work in the university and spend the time on these things that I need. And also because incubator gives us the mentorships and spaces for work. So that's, for me, it's the most important thing that helped me with my business.
For me, the biggest help so far I have received from the cluster, from Mazovia Cluster ICT. Yeah, the mentorship, network. Yeah, it started from there.
Okay, in my case it was a bit different, because I started the Rendi startup from a startup studio. I don't know how much you guys know about startup studios. It's basically a company which specializes in building startups by having different employees who are developers, graphic designer, marketing people, and they start to test every idea which comes from within the company. Therefore, because we had already these human resources and they were professional in their own field, we didn't really need any accelerators or incubators in the beginning. We basically launched our product within 3 weeks of the idea stage, and after half a year we got a seed investment from which we were then able to bring the company into break-even. Since then, we are now focusing on regional expansion, because we want to be the biggest online platform service provider within the CE region and the V4s. I would say that during this process, the Enterprise Agency helped us a lot. For example, this V4 road trip will be a very good opportunity for us to scout talents from these countries, because I've learned that we also expanded into Poland a couple of months ago, and it's very, very hard to find a good team member. Also in your home country, but when you go to a different country, it's like super, super hard compared to your own market. So I would say this is a very big help for us. Also, the Hungarian trade agency helped us. They also took us to different trade shows. So I would say that we can thank the most to these two agencies.
You mentioned a number of factors like business incubators or the talent pool available in the region. How do you see the business climate in the Visegrad region? Is it supportive for startups and small innovative enterprises? And how do you say whether it is changing towards this direction?
Well, I can mostly talk from a Hungarian perspective, because that's what I know the best. I would say there are many incubators, accelerators, private funds. Now there is a national fund especially for startups. So there are a lot of Hungarian companies and non-profit organizations which help these startups to thrive. Also, we've been to a couple of international events. We've been to Poland to 2 startup events, and we met with different type of investors there. And I would say that even though Hungary is not such a big country, it is quite easy, not quite easy, but it's not so hard to gain seed investment if you have a good idea and if you have good traction. Because even if, for example, in Hungary or in another country there is not enough or not specific investor for your for your own company, the whole Europe is very easily accessible, and you can basically travel anywhere within 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And I would say that especially in the V4 region, we actually been in contact with Czech and Polish investors as well, and they're very open to helping and investing into any other country.
What about in Poland?
Well, I think it is a very good environment, and it's always a space to develop and to evolve in Poland. of course, there are strengths and weaknesses of the startup ecosystem. But yeah, well, coming back to the V4, I think it's for me it's the first contact with such a project. But this is a proof that we can cooperate and that the cooperation is going on, and I think that it will go and it will profit.
I think it's the best time to start a business now, because nowadays the capital, there is a lot of free capital, it's really cheap, and investors are searching for new opportunities. So when you take in the accelerators and incubators and all these things, I think that now in V4 it's a really great time to start a business. It's something as Silicon Valley before like 5-6 years, because from my perspective in the Czech Republic, when I take in the universities, for example, 4 years ago, there were little to no incubators or accelerators in Prague, and now it's kind of full of these things, and there are a lot of people that are searching and willing to lend you money if you have a good idea. So for me, it's the great time now.
I strongly agree with Tomáš. I think now is the best time to start a company because we have many national or EU funds, and also angel investors and funds have very good time. They have many money and they can invest, but I think they are open to invest when you have some revenue, and still is very hard to raise money when you are in the pre-revenue phase. So I think it's similar as the 10 years ago. And also one Slovak bank has very interesting program for entrepreneurs. Banks are very, they don't like risk, but Slovenská sporiteľňa from Slovakia has interesting program that it can fund also risky companies. So banks now are going to invest in startups maybe in Slovakia, one bank.
It's good that you mentioned that there are EU funds, national funds, and also, of course, private investors. Peter, do you think a startup in the region has the luxury to pick and choose from these sources, or you should really go for all available options?
I think good startup can pick and is on the horse. But casual startups and maybe not so good startups, they are very hard to I think have a funding still. So I think they need to spray and pray for the investment. But good companies, yes, they can pick investment. But in the Slovakia, there is maybe 3 companies who can pick the investment.
That's still a relatively low number compared to the new ideas emerging. So actually, how do you see this, Timur? Do you think that this is a good trend, that there are more and more government-supported investments and EU funds for startups, or should it be really the place for private investors?
I would say it's very good, and I would agree with Peter about what he said before. Like when you're looking at investors, it's always very important what kind of money do you want to bring in. You know, you can bring in smart money. Then smart money means that you don't only get the actual investment, but you get the knowledge of the investors who are maybe experienced in the given field you're working in. For example, there are investors, investment funds who do med tech. You know, there are investment funds who go, I don't know, for drones. So for good companies, yeah, they can easily choose where they want to go. On the other hand, the governmental funds are a bit different. They are usually not smart money, but they also give you, of course, different type of connection and all these kind of stuff, but they are usually not so experienced in the given field you want to be invested in. I would say both are very good. We're actually communicating now with these two different parties. There are ups and downs for both sides, but at the end of the day, it depends on what type of investment you're looking for.
Tomáš, and how do you see the Visegrad region rather means a bigger market for you or new competitors? I guess both, but which can you feel stronger, the opportunity for new markets or the new threats from potential competitors?
Sure, it's both, but I think it depends on the perspective and the point of view that you have, because I like to search for opportunities and trends. So for me, it's surely an opportunity, not competitive. But if I say so, we want to expand into V4 markets for sure in the next 1 or 2 years. So I think for me, it's surely an opportunity. There may be some new competitors for me, but I think that the bigger the market is, the better it is.
See, let's just go back to you, Timur, for a second, because you have already entered the Hungarian and lately the Polish market.
Yes.
So was it significantly different, the Polish market from the Hungarian, and if yes, in what aspects?
I would say it is different, even though it's very close and the cultural differences are not really big. The market itself is very different, and it's not like if we look at Poland and Hungary, but also if you're looking within Hungary, we need to have totally different communication, for example, compared to Budapest or another bigger city. For us, it was actually very, very hard to enter that market, especially because there's a quite big competitor in the Polish market. We actually, the first time when we tried, we failed pretty hard with that. So now we're working again on re-strategizing ourselves and learning from our mistakes. But I would say that it is a lot different, yeah.
Eva, I turn to you now. As you are just starting, or you plan to start your business, what do you see as the potentially biggest obstacle for this?
For starting my my business, to opening a startup, I think that right now I feel that, or I fear that I will not get enough mentorship. Because for me, in developing your own business, money is not everything. Obviously, it is very important, but sometimes, you know, just patting on the shoulder and telling you, yeah, this is a good idea, and if you need any help, I can help you in this and this area, so don't hesitate and contact me. So I'm a little bit scared that maybe I jump into a deep water and there will be no rescue coming. That's what my biggest fear.
See, how do you see this, Tomáš?
Can you repeat the question?
So the biggest obstacles that nowadays the startups in the region facing, because we have already heard the importance of mentorship, and of course money and early investors are also key, but maybe are there any other, even on a personal level, because you mentioned that it was surprising for you how busy you can be with the new business?
For me personally, it's definitely the time, but I think that the most important thing that you need to have when you're starting a business is the right people. I think it was said here. Because when you have a bad team, you can be a master of science, but you just cannot do it. So the people is the most important thing. And I also think that because of the environment now and the cheaper money, it's better to pay more for a qualified and for pay more for people that are really motivated to work with you, and not pay for so-called experts. So I think the motivation is also very important when we are working with someone.
See, Peter, how do you motivate people to join your company and be part of your story?
I think the biggest motivation is the good atmosphere and jokes, because we have, I think, we do a lot of jokes, and also is the opportunity to earn some money via the stock options. But I think the biggest is the good atmosphere, very big portion of freedom and jokes.
It's never hurts, yeah. Timur, how do you see this? How do you motivate people to join you?
Well, we motivate employees differently. Of course, it is one of the most important things that the atmosphere should be good. You know, everybody should feel that when they're coming in on Monday, they don't have a small heart attack in their hearts, but say, "Oh, it's so good that I'm going back," or they just say that it's good that I'm going to the office. It depends on the level of position who works for us. For example, if the person is in a management position like a marketing head or an operative head, they receive employee stock options from us. So I would say that that is one of the biggest motivations, that you do not work just for the salary, but you work for yourself because you're actually the owner of the company you're working for. So I would say that people who are very important to your company should be also motivated with this employee stock options. People which are not so vital, not so very high in the managerial positions, also by salary, and there where the atmosphere comes in the most. So I would say that Rendi pays an average salary for its employees, but the main reason, we actually had a small market research where I was not there, so it wasn't because I was there said that what they most like, what is their favorite part working for Rendi, is that it has a very good atmosphere. Like, they actually feel within the company that they are friends. They always help with each other, which I would say it's really a treasure, because I've been working a couple of places before, and there the employees usually try to push all the responsibilities to the other person. And say that if something wrong happened, then they said that, oh, it was not my responsibility. But when they did something good, then they say that I was the one who achieved that goal. With us, it's totally different. So we basically work together all the time. We laugh together. We cry together. So it's not like it matters on one person.
Surely targeting the right people to join you is important, but how do you generate buzz around your idea in the wider audience, Eva?
Once again.
So how do you catch the attention of the wider audience regarding your idea?
Well, you have to be a good seller. You have to be some kind of an actor or an actress to attract, and that's what Peter said, that jokes always help. And I think with the selling skills, the most important is the passion that you have. I think that you cannot play or be artificial about passion, because I think that people can sense it and disguise you and tell you that you are fake. So I think that the passion and the well-prepared documents, business plan, and all the supportive papers all together could work.
And Tomáš, regarding targeting the audience, are there any special practices or special tools like social media that you use?
For sure. When we started with the 3F, as I said, like the family, friends, and fools. That's important because when we build the MVP, that's the minimal viable product, because we wanted to test the market. We started with the Facebook groups and our friends and family. So that was our start. And then I think it's important not to focus only on online. It's also important to go somewhere on the offline actions, events, and so on. So we did it like that. We sure are doing a lot of online activities. We are using Facebook and Instagram for our company because, as you may know, we are doing a subscription box for dogs. So everybody loves dogs, and a lot of people are making photos of them and posting that on Facebook or Instagram. So that's our main channel we are using right now. But we are also focusing a lot on the events. So we are going on many charity and dog events that we can find. So when we are creating the bus, we also tried to using some PRs. So we had a few articles in the newspapers and so on. So that's also really important. I think that it's not when you are thinking about creating a bus, you just have to use a lot of channels together. So that's the main reason main thing on how to doing a bus.
It seems that you have a number of ways to attract retail customers, but Peter, we have seen that you have some big companies among your customers. How do you target them, or how you can catch their attention?
Yeah, we are in the different enterprise or segment, so we don't have now only a Facebook page. We don't have any PR or marketing, and we are weak in creating buzz. I have information about it, and I need to change it. But this is not a problem for enterprises. They just want to good product, so we were focusing on improving the product for them, and we are focusing on direct sales. So we have built a very strong network, thanks to my colleague Marian, and now we can target any big company in the Slovakia because we have really big network. And the first big companies we target via network from the recommendation, and also some were cold emails or maybe cold messages via LinkedIn. People in these companies are responsive if you have good script of the email. So this is the secret sauce, I think. The good cold email can also work in big companies when it's good.
So you just need to write a good email and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Practically, okay. Now let's do 2 rounds. First, I'm really interested in what was the best and the worst piece of advice that you got related to your business. I give you some time to think it through, and then let's start with you, Timur.
To be honest, I didn't really get many advices from other people on how to do the Rendi. What I would suggest, like from this 2 years of experience, is that when you're validating your idea and you're thinking that you found something good which can have a great income or whatever, you should really focus on validating that something. Actually, I had 2 companies before Rendi, and one of that failed because when we thought of the idea, then we actually started making the 1.0. So I mean that we thought of a platform which based on social on a social platform, and the reason the idea was that if you want to buy something from abroad which is not available in your country, then all the many million people who travel the world every day can buy it for you and bring it to your country. And how we started it is that we got this idea and then we started developing everything. So we developed the messages, where you communicate, we developed notifications and all these kind of stuff. And it was, I would say, like 5 months of development. And then at the end of the day, everybody lost their motivation and we didn't actually launch with our idea. And after that, with Rendi, when we thought of this whole cleaning thing, we developed really a prototype. So it was like a 0.1 version of a website you can imagine. It was only one page, and you were able to order the service, but after that, for example, you couldn't cancel it. So there was only one button, you didn't have any profile, you didn't have any messages, you basically ordered it, and then we sent you the cleaner. If you, for example, wanted to cancel, you had to call us. But even though after you called and we said, okay, we canceled your cleaner, we still sent you the automatic email that we are coming, for example, tomorrow. So it's very important that when you have an idea, don't put a lot of resources into it, rather really build a very, very simple website, try to validate it with a very small budget, like go to Facebook groups, ask your friends, well, don't ask your friends because they usually don't really give you back the real feedback, but try to validate it from a very small amount of budget and resource.
Eva?
Well, the worst advice was obviously don't do it. You know, and the comment, well, if you think that you can change the world, you are not the first one who tried and failed. So that was obviously, well, the best one was do it. And then just contact the right people. That's it.
Well, Czech Republic is kind of interesting environment because there are little to no advices that I've been given, but Czech people usually give you the reasons why it would fail or why it couldn't work. So I think this environment is good for you because when people are negative about your business and they are saying, okay, I think that it's not going to work because it's like that and that and that, you're just giving a lot of feedback, a lot of bad feedback, but I think it's good for starting a business. When it comes to the best advices, I think quite the same with the MVP, with building a 0.1 beta version. Because when you want to test the market, it's always reasonable to invest little money into it and test it if it's gonna work. And when it's working, then you can invest more money and start building your business. So it's really important. And I think that also great advice is to be patient and persistent and give it the best that you can and work. The more time that you have and the more than you can work, it's the better. But it's important to work 1 or 2 years before freezing the project if you think it's not going to work, because it takes time, everything takes time. So you just need to really work for 1 or 2 years and then you can say if it's not or if it's going to work for sure.
Based on things my colleagues said, the best advice I ever received was read the Lean Startup book. I think it's the Bible of the entrepreneurship, and this is everything about the minimum viable product, feedbacks, and how to change it for very little money. So I think everybody need and have to read this book. It will save him 10,000 euro maybe. And I have also the advice or good quote is the good luck can put you where that hard work can put you somewhere good luck can find you. So I think the best advice is hard work. This is the secret, I think. And the worst advice was that when people told that don't do it, it means that one man told me that this doesn't work out because another people did similar product 3 years ago and failed. And this sentence has 3 mistakes because he told that another people is the first mistake, the similar product, so it's also another product, not the same product, and 3 years ago. This is the third mistake. This was the worst advice.
So basically hard work, timing and good ideas are the ones. And for our last round in our discussion, actually it will be 2 questions. So the first one is where do you see yourself and your company in, let's say, 3 or 5 years' time? And what do you think that, what is the biggest change that this region or even your country needs to be even more supportive for startups?
In the 2 years, we want to be every country of V4. This is the plan. I think this is not so hard. It is more simpler than to be in the Australia or in the USA. And I think it could help when every government give us 300,000 euros for the start for every country. This would help.
That surely would, yes.
I think we surely want to be in the V4 and to expand in the other markets. But I think for me it's important to maintain the quality of service that we have. So if it's not possible for us to maintain this quality and customer service that we have, we may not expand, because it's better to have the great services and not to be everywhere with the bad services. So that's what I think, and we surely want to be in the EU till for 5 years. And when it comes to the government and donations, I'm not for it, because I think that the donations are bad for the market, for the free market. But I think, for example, in the Czech Republic, there are a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of administrative, and I really hate it, because, for example, our minister made new innovations with the EET. That's the how does it say? It's because of the black market. He wanted to improve the taxes, the taxes that he can receive, but it's kind of hard for entrepreneurs and for companies to calculate all these changes and make it better. So I think what is really important is the e-government and innovations in the government with the administrative and bureaucracy. I would be really happy if governments try to make it more simple to do all the needed things.
My plans for coming 2 years, first of all, to get the trash bins, thanks to my game, that my first priority. But seriously, I hope in 2 years I will have the application ready, and I could do the trial phase of the idea. What I think what would help, or what could help in Poland, is more private funds, because right now most of the funds are public, and as Tomáš said, there are a lot of bureaucracy, and sometimes they are not allocated due to the merit, but some different reasons. So I think that private funds, that would help a lot. Plus, I think more business angels around that somebody like me could turn to and get the support and advice. Yep.
In 3 years, I see ourselves as the biggest online platform for cleaning services in the Central Eastern European region. I mean, that is our ultimate goal, and everybody at the company is aiming at that. So I'd say that is where we have to be within 3 years. In sense of what could be better, I would say there should be more expos and conferences like this. There should be more competitions with rewards, such as going to V4 countries, to different countries where you can actually see the ecosystem. You know, you can learn from different startups. You can make connections with whom you can later work when you're going internationally. And also, I would say that there should be a continuous investment into these startups, because, for example, approximately 2 years ago, when we received the seed investment, and we started working with that, after a while, these EU funds were closed, and there was a time in Hungary when there was a very small amount of investment money which could be given to startups. And because of that, there were a lot of startups, I remember, which were very good ideas, but had to close down because they couldn't keep up their expenditures, because maybe they're not a company like we are, that it's the revenue is very close. It can be, the next day, but if you're building something bigger, for example, there was this computer Cody, I think, with the small game, I don't know if you heard about it, they had the same problem, that it was a great idea, but they ran out of funds and they weren't able to do anything, even though it was, I think, a very, very good something. So there should be more focus on continuous development of these startups, and not only one-time investment, but looking out for them and helping and getting in more investment if they are actually good startups.
Thank you very much for all your insights and experiences. I really hope that it will be useful for our audience. Thank you very much.
Thanks.